We welcome this very proactive move by the central government to notify Bharat Stage VI emission standards for all vehicles to be implemented by 2020. Let me tell you that this proactive move actually advances this decision by several years. The original proposal of the Auto Fuel Policy Committee was to implement the standards as late as 2024-25. So therefore, this intervention and this decision is certainly a game changer, especially now when India is motorizing very rapidly, and not only motorizing, it is also dieselizing very rapidly with very serious public health consequences. The immediate impact of introduction of Euro 6 emission standards in 2020 would mean that substantial, significant decline in emissions from the new fleet. The norms have actually improved by as much as 80 to 89% for the key pollutants that come from the tailpipes of the vehicles. But what is also more significant is that the Euro 6 or Bharat Stage VI emission standards also represent a paradigm shift in the way we are going to regulate the future emissions in this country. And why am I saying that? Some of the critical highlights of the new regulations are that these are not only more stringent, but we are also going to introduce some very critical testing of emissions which will ensure that vehicles once bought, they continue to emit low throughout their lifetime on the road. So what have they asked for? They have asked for real world emission testing of the vehicles. Even as vehicles are moving on the road, monitor their emissions with portable monitoring systems. And with that, you will be able to catch and prevent something like the Volkswagen cheating case with defeat devices, or if any vehicle manufacturer is using substandard emission control systems which once out on the road will begin to deteriorate very rapidly. Some other significant and notable highlights of the new regulations are that for the first time in this country, we are going to regulate particulate matter from two-wheelers and three-wheelers. Their numbers are so big that in most pollution inventory in most of our cities show that two-wheelers are emerging as a major contributor of PM, the particulate matter. But now we will be regulating their emissions as well. So these are some of the critical big steps forward, and we certainly hope that the automobile industry will also now participate, and the lead time that they have, that until 2020 they will focus on implementation strategy. It is also very important to take note of the fact the role of the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, who have made the proactive commitment which actually enabled this decision to provide clean fuel across the country. Now this also means that now for the first time India will move out of the current practice of having two levels of emission standards in the country. The better standards for few big cities and lower standards for the rest of the country. Now with these regulations, we will have uniform and stringent emission standards across the country. The other very important point that we must keep in mind, that Euro 6 or Bharat Stage VI emission standards will help us to address the diesel emissions more effectively. Currently, the emissions standards in this country, they legally allow diesel cars to emit several times more particulate matter and nitrogen oxide compared to the petrol cars. But now the Euro 6 emission standards will see to it that we close down the gap considerably. Even though even under Euro 6 or Bharat Stage VI standards, diesel cars will still emit more nitrogen oxide compared to a petrol car, but the gap will be much less than what it is today. So this means that we will begin to address diesel emissions not only in terms of emissions but also in terms of cancer risk from the new diesel fleet. So certainly a very big step forward, and we welcome this move, and we hope to see that these standards are implemented now as scheduled without any further delay. Because let us keep in mind that air pollution is increasing very rapidly in our cities, and vehicular pollution poses one of the very serious public health risks. Now with Euro 6, we are certainly moving in a direction where we will begin to address this issue, but we have to remain on track and eventually consider other strategies to reduce vehicle numbers in our